Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Now today we're going to do a circle to land approach into Innsbruck for runway 08 and you'll say, oh golly, yet another one. And you'll be absolutely right because pretty much anybody who's ever made a video on YouTube or about flight sim will have made at a certain point a circle to land in Innsbruck. But it's a little difference today. Now try as I may, I could not find any videos on the second procedure, which I know British Airways uses. I don't know if anybody else does, but you can only find the traditional, so a 4.2 DME from Oscar Echo Victor. You break off for the downwind leg 230, then the turn to 264 on the power lines, and then the final turn. But there is another way, which I very much like, because it doesn't rely on this NDB here, which is not an entirely accurate way of knowing when to start the turn, and uses mostly headings, so it's pretty complicated to get right, especially with winds and etc. And then relies on a scenery which might not be totally correct with the power lines and etc. Now, the way British Airways does it is with one single turn instead of two. So you have one turn, instead of using the 4.2 DME, you use 6 DME and you turn 246. And then all the way down, the final point is the same on top of the church at the village of Axams. And then you do your final turn. So today we're just going to have a look at that. Now, what we're going to do in terms of approach, normally I would suggest when doing this to use the localizer R for runway 26, which is a beautiful approach because the minimums are very, very low. Reason for that is because it is a localizer slash RNAV approach. It's a mixed approach, as they call it. So the approach is localizer, and then you have an RNAV mixed approach procedure. Now, the big problem of the minimums normally on the traditional localizer DME is that if you decide to go around, you need to make a quick turn and come out of the valley and climb as fast as you can. So that's why the minimums are so high, because if you go all the way down to low minimums, then you might not be able to come back up the valley. So that was sorted, inventing this mixed procedure. So if you have a very RNAV capable aircraft, what you can do, you can chuck yourself into the valley to the west, gain altitude there, then perform a turn here when it opens up a little bit, and by the time you're back, you're very high. So this has very, very low minimums, as low as 356. Depending on the climb gradient, then you can achieve the performance of your plane. But that would be too easy. We won't be doing this. The other two are localizer east or localizer special localizer east. The difference again is the missed approach. The turn is the same, but after that, on the traditional one, you use the same localizer you used to came down, but you're quite close to terrain. And I'm not entirely sure, that's my interpretation. The special one seems to have a higher minimum, even though they're not here, because they're according to special authorization, and I believe your airline will give you the minimums based on your weight and your capabilities to climb, let's say. At that point, you'll be using another localizer, the Oscar Echo Juliet, and you're away from terrain for a little longer. So this one seems to be a compromise between the two. So we'll chuck that away, and we will do this one today. Now, without further ado, let's get on with it and try and see how this works. Now, I might have left a few things at the last minute. I came only from Munich just to do a very quick one. So that means that at top of descent, I'm already at 16,000 feet. But we'll try and do these things quickly, and you guys can pause if you need to catch up with anything. So unpause the sim. So what we're going to do, we're going to set straight away 9,500 feet, which is the altitude at which we want to intercept the localizer and start an open descent there. Now, in the meantime, we take our FMGC. We want to do a few things here. Now, first of all, let's select the approach so you can see what it is. It's the localizer 26. Otherwise, if you want to make your life a little easier, 26 right, or if there's bad weather, you need lower minimum. Localizer 26 coming from Munich. We're using the Toliss A319 via Rattenberg. and we chuck that in. Now, there used to be a glide slope that you could use associated with the localizer by pressing your approach button, but it doesn't seem to work at the moment. So what we're gonna have to do, normally at the final fix you would want to be at least above 9.5 because you will intercept the glide slope, but we need to do an FBA descent today, so we want to make sure that we're already at 9.5 a little earlier than the final fix, otherwise we'll be in trouble. Now we'll use APU on. In real life APU is turned on before the descent, so that takes care of the aircon with bleed air from the APU and leaves the bleed air to the engines for performance. Now what we're going to do, go back to flight plan on the performance, and we go on to the approach and we fill that with the meter because I haven't done it yet. So 998, temperature is going to be 3 and the wind is about, oh nice, 0 at 0. Transition is actually 11,000. It depends, it can be 11 or 12, I believe. It depends on the QNH on the day. MDA, we've put what I thought would be correct based on the weight and the performance we have on the 319. Today we're flying a British Airways A319. So second thing we're going to do is the go around page, which doesn't have traditional altitudes because, as we said, you want to get out of the valley as quick as possible. So we do 7,000, and then in case of one engine we want to be all the way back up top of the valley before we accelerate, so 9,500 feet. Now we can put the APU bleeds on. No, we cannot because we didn't start it. Now second in flight plan, we want to copy the active, and then on the second, and now we don't know we're going to do the circle to land because that happens when you're closer to the runway. So because we don't know, we're just going to prepare ourselves and do different arrival on the secondary. Just going to do runway 08, so we have only an extended center line. We still need to put the star because otherwise it doesn't program properly. I think that's just an explain limitation. Then after Rattenberg, before the center fix, we need to enter two different points. One is RUM, which is the NDB, and the other one is a custom waypoint starting from Oscar Echo Juliet and 246, which is the radial we'll take, at 13.8, which is the DME at which we will start the final turn, and we check it there. Now let's put the altimeter to 998 so we know we're correct as we use in FBA, and that's good. Let's monitor the speed. Before Adwick we want to be already in a very good energy state because as you can see Adwick we're planning to be at 167 and the final approach fix 132, the final approach speed. We won't be at 132 because otherwise the descent down would be very, very slow. Would be 154, which is, don't know if it's correct, but 154 is the maximum speed at which you need to make any turns in the valley, so we know that before the final turn we won't be any faster than that. Now we're decelerating, so what I want to do now, let's put quickly before we do that a couple of fixes. We do one first fix, we'll do the RUM NDB, and we do a radial 246 just to check that we're doing the turn properly, and then we do a second one which is just an experiment, just from OEJ. We need to be at 13.8, but we cannot put decimals here, so we'll put 14 just for a little bit more awareness there. Now we can put flaps 1 now. Need to pin the cabin crew, but it's too easy, too early now, so it won't take it. It will come up again later, but it's fine. Now between that we want to be either flaps 2 or gear down. We cannot put flaps 2, we're too fast, so we're gonna put gear down. Activate the ILS here now. It will come out, will come up alive very late after that week, so we just need to make sure that we check when the diamond comes up. Now we put Hardwick 1.4 miles, we're good. We we've lost all the energy we had to lose. We put flaps to now, and we do open descent because we really want to get to 9,500 as quick as we can. And speed we select at 154. Okay, next step. There we are, localizer is alive. So we click localizer, lock star, and we are on the localizer. Now next step, we're gonna wind down to 3,700. We're gonna start the descent at 3.8, which is this glide slope 3.77. We're gonna start at 3.8. Now we're 9,500 alt star 3 0.3 we want to start, otherwise we'll be above. There we go. So I pulled the FBA at 0.3 from the final fix. So when you get to the final fix, you're actually doing the right thing. Now we'll put down the altitude at 3,700, which is the final altitude at which we want to descend. At this point, landing lights on, spoilers armed, and we're good. And now we start monitoring a little bit this the altitude. Now 17 DME. We need to be at 8,717, 8,760. So we do an extra 0.3 for a mile and see if we catch up. We should be at 8,300. Still catching up to do. We'll leave it there. In the meantime, we need to change a couple of things on the RATNAV page. We want to have OEJ over there. 15.79. Yeah, we're good. We can go back to 3.8. And then we want to put the NDP rum and rum, which is this one over here, the rum. And that's, we start the turn and we need to fly through the rum NDP. So that's all correct. Now let's continue checking the descent at 13 DME. We want to be at 7,100. $13, 7,100. Increase a little bit, we were like 20 feet high. Now the next step, we're going to level off. Now normally you can down to 3,700 on the traditional procedure, but you see this valley over here, which is this valley over here. It's a valley that runs south to north and can have very strong fun winds. It can be very strong coming out of the valley there, and they could push you or just give you lots of turbulence. So here what we do, we stay at 5,000 feet before descending at 3,700 after that mouth of the valley, let's say. So let's keep checking. 11 DME, we should be at 6.3, 11 DME, 6.3, even a little bit low, and that's good. So when we come to 5,100 feet, we will push to level off. So we will level off at 5,000. Now we have OEJ indicated here and OEV, so the turn will be at 6 DME from OEV, Oscar Echo Victor, and then the final turn will be at 13.8 from this VR here, well, which is a localizer. But make sure you base your first turn onto this one, based on this one, and the second turn based on this one. DME on 5,100. Now 5,100 approaching. $5,100, we push and we level off. Now at this point we're waiting for the 6 DME and we turn. Now I don't know if it's exactly, if I turn at 6 DME, it seems to be a little early because I don't head exactly for the center of the village, but we'll do that. There's no need to anticipate it. Don't change any earlier than 6. So now we prepare the truck at 246, get ready to pull it at 6, and I wouldn't do any earlier than that. Possibly a second late. 6, and we pull, and now we're going towards 246. So we leveled off and we're on track 246, and you can see we are on the line that we traced. Now at this point what we do, we change the rad nav, because for the missed approach we need that localizer, so we need the OEJ. So instead of OEV we put OEJ, and that will be a back course of 66, and that's good. We don't need the ILS anymore, we deselect that. We need to now descend at 3,700. You will wait until you're away from here so you don't risk getting into that wind. And second thing we need to do is activate the secondary now. So we go on to secondary flight plan, activate it, and now we have it. So we have that circle, that radius, so and we know we shouldn't go beyond that, and that's the final point that we created, and for 70, etc. Now we can start a maximum 9 DME from OEJ. We need to start the descent. We'll start it now. Open descent, alt blue, 3,700. QNH, I would strongly recommend to check again your weather injector now. I'm on active sky because, there we go, 997, it has changed while we were flying. So you're sure you level off at the correct altitude, because then the last turn is really fiddly, so we want to be as precise as we can. So at this point we're going all the way down to the 13.8. Now the descent can be done at 2, flaps 2 or flaps 3.
2,000.
Normally flaps 3, but I know that you definitely don't gain any altitude, well, any speed with flaps 2. So now we go back into managed speed, make sure that you remember that, and then we can put flaps 3. Flaps full, and then we ping the cabin. By the book you should come down with flaps 3, but so we don't need that anymore. We don't need the flight directors. We're gonna fly manual. So we're at 3,700, we're waiting for 13.8, and then we'll start the turn. Now the church is there, not on all sceneries, so that's why you mainly rely on your DME indication. Beautiful church. So we wait for the 13.8, and then we'll start a turn. The bank angle depends on your speed. Today we're on a small, not fully loaded A319, so 20 should be enough. If you were on a fully loaded 321, you might get very close to 30. But it all depends on the speed, so it's just trial and error. Deactivate the autopilot, we're at 13.5, and 13.8 will start the turn just before we smack into the mountain. There we go. Let's do 20, just above 20. Now we start the descent at 700 feet per minute, not more than that, because you can see here you have this plateau and these power lines here. I don't know if you can see them. So ideally the whole turn would be done at 1,000 feet per minute down, but you can't. So we start at 700, keep that rate, the bank angle where we need it to be. Then once you clear the power lines, you increase to around 1300, not more than that. There we go. And then we see what happens there.
100 above.
There we go. Doing it quite tight. We're very, very, very slow. Then we try and keep it on to 3.5. The puppies are at 3.5 degrees. There we go, which means we are not sitting the bird on top of the white line, but we're covering the white line with the base of the bird. Then we're a little low. There we go. Auto brakes are on. Spoilers are armed, and we're good. Aim for the touchdown zone.
200.
Oh, there's a Cessna there. Man, beauty of traffic
50,
global.
40, 30, 20, retard, 10,
Let's
5.
put it down. Spoilers up. Auto brake, reverser green, diesel. 70 knots. Reverser idle, and manual braking. And welcome to Innsbruck. There we are. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it will give you something different to try for once in, well, slightly different to try for once in Innsbruck. And please let me know what you think, and if you have any comments or suggestions or any questions, please do let me know. For now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.